Let's go! Are you kidding me? For the second straight game, two of the main teams on this channel will go head to head. Tennessee took care of Oklahoma a few weeks ago, and now Tennessee gets Arkansas in Fayetteville. The Volunteers coming off a bye week with the spread currently at 13.5 and climbing, baby. So, how do you feel about this game with the over-under also set at 60? So, for me, I look at Tennessee as a team that's about to blow the brakes off of Arkansas. I don't like the way this defense is set up to play Tennessee. The way you have to beat them is honestly a lot of the things that Oklahoma did. And obviously, in the second half of that Oklahoma game, Tennessee let the foot off the gas pedal. There was that viral-ish clip of Josh Heupel talking to NICO after the game. So I really do like Tennessee to take care of business, cover the spread. I think it'll be one of these 38-20 kind of games. And it could be even worse than that. So, look, I don't think Arkansas is just going to roll over. Obviously, in 2020, this was one of the biggest wins of the early Sam Pittman tenure. During the COVID year, Arkansas was down by double digits at halftime just to score, what was it, like 27 unanswered points to win that game. So, for me, at this point, Tennessee has just looked the more complete team than Arkansas. You take a look at Arkansas and some of the results that have happened since the Razorbacks have started the year. Well, what we know about Oklahoma State now is that team really wasn't all that good. Now, it was still impressive that Arkansas went on the road and dominated as badly as they did, and then they choked the game away. They played well in that game. But we now see that Oklahoma State isn't who we thought they were as defending Big 12 championship game attendees. And then we have seen what happened to Auburn. Now, Auburn did look better versus Oklahoma this past week, but they did lose. And Auburn is also a team that lost to Arkansas. And look, Auburn in that game didn't really play well. Right? They had one ridiculous explosive play touchdown. They had a ton of interceptions in that game. And look, I still believe Tennessee is a team that has real college football playoff chatter and momentum. And I was high on Tennessee before the season began, and I have just been ahead of consensus on Josh Heupel for years now. It made me feel so uncomfortable last year taking the Tennessee under the win total mark. And obviously that cleared with flying colors. I just think that they weren't good enough at quarterback. This year, with a better defense, better quarterback, these are the kind of games that Josh Heupel has won. And one extra thing that I love about Josh Heupel when you're picking him to swallow huge spreads is there is not a better blowout coach in the entire SEC than Josh Heupel. That's why I was a little shocked that he take the foot off the gas pedal versus Oklahoma. I honestly think it was because he had so much respect for the program. I honestly think that game, they downplayed the importance of the game to Josh Heupel. He downplayed the importance of it, but I don't care who you are. If you coached and the guy across the field from you also coached with you, and you're the quarterback of that team's last national championship game, and this is your first return to that stadium since that day that you were fired, I believe Josh Heupel took the foot off the gas pedal. I still think Tennessee is a very special team. The Arkansas offensive line struggled versus a really, really good Texas A&M defensive line. I do believe Tennessee's defensive line is better than Texas A&M's defensive line. It's not in terms of star ratings and on paper, but I still do think that group is better. Coming off a bye, I think Tennessee takes care of business. And even though I give a score line here of 38-20, I do think it can get worse than that. Also, TAYLEN Green is a guy that I think will struggle versus Tim Banks. Tim Banks is really good as a defensive coordinator in throwing a lot of different looks your way, right? And what I think he's going to do is give them a lot of double A gap looks and then back out of it and force TAYLEN Green to read it post snap and muddy up the post snap picture. What I think Bobby Petrino could do to counteract that is lower the amount of pre-snap motion to give TAYLEN Green a little bit more of a static pre-snap image. But, we talked about this in yesterday's stream from the Arkansas vantage point. It's it's tough to see in the A&M film. It's tough for me to really see the offensive line for Arkansas being the main culprit. And, I read so many of those articles yesterday about, well, Arkansas's pass protection has given up X amount of pressures and all of that. I'm telling you, a lot of pressures are on the quarterback as much as it is the offensive line. I think Tennessee's defensive line is also better than Texas A&M's. Yeah, I know I stated that a minute ago, but I think it's close. And this group, I think, is going to dominate in the trenches. I hope I'm wrong. Obviously, Arkansas's offense looks a lot different when Jaquindon Jackson isn't running the football well. One thing I will say, though, is this offensive line as a run blocking unit has been very good this year. So we'll see how that hammers itself out. The one thing I'll say about Tennessee's dominant performance versus Oklahoma is Oklahoma's offensive line isn't really that good this year. They are really, 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 really banged up. So we'll see how this all works out. Now we go to the defensive side of the football for Arkansas. And then we'll get to all your comments here in just a second. Let me see. What did I write down here for this? So the first thing here is Arkansas secondary has played really well. Like, they played really well last week. One thing of note, though, is you take a look at the quarterbacks that this Arkansas secondary has played, okay? So let's start with Jacob Zeno, all right? You take a look at a stat such as ADOT. Jacob Zeno is one of the lowest ADOT quarterbacks in all the country, right? According to CFB numbers, a really fun analytics account. So that means he doesn't throw the football deep too much. And he had a deep opportunity at the end of the Arkansas game, and Landon Jackson saved it, and it was another TJ Metcalf interception. Then you played Peyton Thorne, okay? A quarterback who, of course, is very flawed. And then you played Marcel Reed, another flawed quarterback when it comes to throwing the football. So where I think Arkansas is going to have issues is NICO obviously is a very prolific deep ball thrower. We haven't really seen it. They've really not needed NICO to go out there and win them a game yet this year. But, man, this is an Arkansas secondary that is playing well. But this is a huge step up in quarterback play. And if you even go one step further, Alan Bowman at Oklahoma State has been a disaster. So if there was ever a time for there to be the big NICO breakout game, it would be this one. Now, once again, from an injury standpoint, I don't know why this was the case. It was tough for me this week to get some injury info. So some Tennessee fans, feel free in the comment section here in a second or down below. Let me know what the status is of Lancer. Obviously, I like Lance a lot. That's a pun not intended, Lance a lot, whatever. Dad joke for all you dads out there. But I know Lance, and obviously I wish Lance nothing but the best. But, man, this Tennessee offensive line I still think is pretty good. So we'll see how it holds up. Maybe Danico Slaughter, the transfer from Tennessee over to Arkansas, can step up and maybe give Arkansas some info on how to stop this Tennessee offense. But honestly, I will also say this as far as Arkansas is concerned. If you're going to stop Tennessee, it honestly comes down to your dudes, right? I really don't think there is a way you can out-scheme the Tennessee offense, because if you break it really down to bare bones principles, Tennessee's offense really isn't complex. It's not. It looks complex because it's so different, but part of the beauty of its complexity is its simplicity, right? They do so many different things out of so many different they do different things out of the same looks, right? They spread the receivers out wide and they force you to defend the run in the box. And one thing that was interesting is how well Sam Pittman spoke of Dylan Sampson. A guy who's taken another step. I thought the right going to the Miami Dolphins would be huge. I love Jalen Wright, one of my favorite Tennessee Vols ever. But man, Dylan Sampson has looked amazing. There was a big concern about the depth behind Dylan Sampson. The backup running backs have looked good. So, can Arkansas stop the run with a limited box? And I hope they can, because the thing is, if Arkansas cannot stop Tennessee's run game, they have no shot. They really have no shot. So I'm hoping for that. Obviously, if you're an Arkansas fan, you would feel better if you had a guy like Jalen Braxton, who's played in some big SEC games up to this point in his career, in his young career. But, if I'm Arkansas, I am very concerned to play a guy like Keon Stewart, who missed a huge open field tackle early in that game. Even though he's a year 6 guy and he has a lot of experience, I would be very concerned. Tennessee's receivers are big. They're fast. And this is a Tennessee wide receiver room with Squirrel White not having really that great of a season. But Brew McCoy, solid player. Thornton is really turning into an interesting NFL draft prospect, the transfer coming over from Oregon in year 2 in Heupel system. So it should be a fun game. Okay. This should be a very fun game. Okay. So let's get to a few comments here. Pause. Oh, what's the pause for? Kingsley, I want to stop this and go back for the pause, because you're like me, Cameron and Mace guy. I know they weren't the first to do pauses. I've always kind of done the pause thing. But yeah, let me know what the pause should have been. What did I say? Let's go to Chris with the selfie. Look at that. We got the lake in the background. Okay. He said, I actually like you. Okay, good, Chris. That's great. However, you seem to bash Arkansas a lot. Are you an Arkansas correspondent or some sort of Florida guy? I don't know how you got. What do I strike you as a Florida guy? Why did you? I'm interested. What made you think Florida with the major Joe Burrow painting in the background? As you can see. So I get this question a lot. Honestly, I don't mind opening up about my personal life and allegiances and all that stuff. But when I do that, my analytics go down because, what YouTube tells me is to talk about, the subject at hand. But to address this, I'm not a Tennessee fan or an Arkansas fan. And I'll leave it at that. I do have a lot of friends, though, that live in NWA. Okay. I think he is from Arkansas, but is an LSU fan. Could be wrong. I am not an LSU fan. I'm an LSU graduate and also a fan. Okay. Let's go to a Tennessee perspective. Samuel, I really appreciate you being at every one of our live streams. Let's see. Do I have a Tennessee card to give out? I got to go buy some more NICO cards. We gave our NICO card out last week. I hope that viewer does come back. I won't say his name again aloud because he did reveal something very personal. But I hope he's in here watching. If you are watching, let us know. That was pretty crazy last Tuesday live stream. So let's go here. Coach Ed will be back. He's really secretive of injuries. Yeah, it's interesting that, and this is something I've been asked about as well since sports betting is so big now. The injury report is something that the SEC wants to get out there, right? They really want this to be a thing, especially for SEC on SEC games because of sports betting, right? And I don't really understand why, because one injury can change a sports line by quite a bit. But really the only injuries that do move the needle are quarterback injuries. And that's for the NFL as well. So I am guessing you are right about this, Samuel. Obviously, I don't follow Tennessee as much as you Tennessee fans in the chat do. But, the truth is, from what I understand, and this is a league source that told me this. Let me see. Can I not do the bottom? Wait, why can't I do the bottom scroll anymore? Is that not an option? Oh, my service switched some things up. There we go. Like it's always seemed though that Heupel's been closest to the vest when it comes to injuries, and I get it. All right. Now Kingsley is calling out other Arkansas fans in the chat being effing embarrassing. Well, Kingsley, it's okay if you admit if your team is getting ready to be Heupeled. Okay. I'll tell you a quick story here, Kingsley. Since Arkansas fans always want to bring up that I'm an LSU fan when I also cover Oklahoma and all that stuff. Whatever. A few years ago, like I saw like how good of a coach Josh Heupel was becoming. And I was really, convinced when I did a breakdown of the Purdue game a few years ago. And I was like, this guy is really good. So there was a very hyped up matchup a few years ago with Tennessee going up against LSU in Tiger Stadium. All right. And obviously on my LSU channel, which of course is my main thing, my original YouTube thing, I picked Tennessee to beat LSU. Now, people hated me for it. People told me how stupid I was. And, when you're on your own channel and you pick against your team that you cover, you do lose subscribers. You do get mad. Like, how can you be an LSU fan or whatever? And obviously, I turned out to be right. No one cared that I was right. It's okay to have, not a negative opinion of your team. It's okay, though, to be skeptical of your team, right? That's part of fandom, right? You can get into delusion when you see a Tennessee team that analytically has been one of the best teams in college football, and Arkansas just hasn't been, right? So it's okay if Arkansas fans come in here and say we're getting ready to get smoked, because what do Arkansas fans always say? Anyone that is an Arkansas fan, you know this. When the expectations are low, okay, that's the best time to be an Arkansas fan. All right. Now, I will also include this. If Arkansas had beaten A&M and if Arkansas had beaten Oklahoma State, either or, could you have gotten College Game Day in Fayetteville for the first time since 2007 when it was also Arkansas versus Tennessee? I was actually at that game. And that's been a long time, right? That was the year, everyone's reminding you this week, that was the year that Ryan Williams was born, the Alabama wide receiver, 17 years ago. All right. A lot of you remember that. And that was the Darren McFadden years. Was that 07 or was it 05? It might have been 05. Whatever the case may be, it was the McFadden years. And yeah, it was crazy. That was absolutely crazy that game day was there. Fayetteville, Arkansas deserves another College Game Day in this lifetime, right? It's a beautiful college football stadium. Obviously, Arkansas will always be known more for basketball than football, especially now with Cal there. But it's okay. It's okay if you have a negative opinion of not necessarily negative, but a skeptical. That's what I like to say. It will not be a scrimmage game, though. I think Arkansas's got some guys in the trenches that can hold up some. All right. So it was 06. There you go. So I was there. I have a crazy photo of me and my friends. We're able to get on the field to hang out with Herb Street after the game. And I have the weirdest pose next to Kirk Herbstreit. And I've talked to Kirk. I've interviewed Kirk with like a few other like ESPN things I did in college and stuff like that. And I always wanted to show him that photo, but I just look so sketchy. Oh, so the pause, Kingsley. And I wasn't calling you out either. The pause was for swallowing the spread. But no, Kingsley, look, I'll disagree with this, man. Yeah, I like realistic opinions, but as long as you're not saying, this has always been my policy for Tennessee, Oklahoma, LSU, Georgia, any type of fan. All right. Okay. It's for anything. As long as you're not doing something nefarious, right? Like as long as you're not like getting really personal with the player attack, like calling a player stupid or calling a player a name or doing, something truly bad, right? I'm not going to block anyone. unless you just get super trolly or whatever. All right. So, for me, I am very open to any types of opinions. All right. Now, I understand, and I'll address this as well. I am not an Arkansas fan. I'm not a Tennessee fan. I've had friends play at both of those programs, coach at both of those programs, whatever. Okay. But I am passionate, as you can tell, about all my analysis, even though it is not my team per se. Okay. And the funny thing is, there are some teams in the SEC I like more than others. And there are also some teams in the SEC I just don't hate at all. I don't really have an opinion where I love or hate Georgia, for instance, right? I just don't. I don't have – I prefer them to not win the Natty every year. So I thank Nick Saban for ending that run last year. But I just don't like dynasties. I am very anti-dynasty in any sport. Like on my NFL channel, I've done a lot of Chiefs videos. And I will scream if the Chiefs win it this year with no freaking Rashee Rice, Marquise Brown. If they win it again this year, I have no hope for humanity. I'll just give up watching football altogether. Yeah, Leslie, I'll be at the game. So if you want to meet up, let me know. Let's go to True Soldier, who has been the anti-TAYLEN Green guy, probably more than anyone. He says, we won't beat Tennessee with TAYLEN Green at quarterback. If you were to beat Tennessee, you would need Matt Jones at quarterback. If we're being honest. I just think Tennessee is good. I think they're very good. Now, let's keep it moving. Let's go here to Bogdanovich. If I were Bobby P, what would my game plan be for Tennessee? What would give Arkansas a fighting chance? So this happened this morning in Fayetteville, and I'll address it. And I don't mind if people call in and share their opinions, okay? And obviously, let's end the beef in the chat, and we'll move on, okay? Because I don't have any mods here. And look, most of you watching are Arkansas fans right now. I do this for Tennessee fans. I do it Tuesday. But even though this stream is still new for Tennessee fans, I think this is the third time I've done a Tennessee show still. Okay. So what would I do if I was Bobby Petrino? All right. The first thing is recognize that it's going to be impossible for TAYLEN Green's pocket presence to be fixed now. Okay. It's one of those things whether you can learn it or you don't. And right now, and I could just be totally blind to this, the A&M game, I really did feel that Arkansas's offensive line did struggle blocking A&M up front, but a lot of the mistakes were on TAYLEN. I really do believe it. All right. And what I think can happen is people get a little too carried away with how Pro Football Focus charts something. All right. And if you really want to get to the root of the problem, you really need to rewatch the full game. Now, full disclosure, since I have done the film study, I have not been able to fully sit down and rewatch every offensive snap up to this point. All right. But what happened this morning was there was someone that called in to an Arkansas morning show. Apparently, I haven't listened to this at all, but a viewer texted me and said someone called into an Arkansas morning show and said that I was calling out Bobby Petrino's play calling. All right. Let me first start off by saying Bobby Petrino deserves serious Broyles Award steam and I still believe he should. If we were to rank offensive assistants, or should I say SEC assistants who deserve the Broyles Award this year, there's actually the two coaches in this game would actually be the coaches that I would say. Now, once again, I cover these two teams really closely, and I've seen what they've done. But Tim Banks, the Tennessee defensive coordinator, I think would be the guy I would give the Broyles Award to over anyone up to this point. And then I would give it to Bobby, right? Nick Sheridan deserves some love for Alabama. I was very skeptical of him, and he's been phenomenal up to this point in the season with Jalen Milroe. But at this point, I would still give it to Tim Banks, right? Tennessee's defense has been, to me, the best in the SEC this year. I also think Bobby's done well. The point was, overall, though, I do think there were a few calls I would have done differently if I were Bobby. I felt like with the way that their ends were screaming off the line, I would have done a little bit more split zone, tight end leak kind of stuff, right? That's why I was very high on Luke Haas going into the game, but, he can't stay healthy worth a damn. But, tight ends have really given Mike Elko defenses a lot of trouble. So I would have done a lot more of that kind of stuff. Then you take a look at some of the TAYLEN Green INTs. I wouldn't have run like at the end of the first half. I would need to go back and look at this yet again. He ran like some double scissors concepts. And once again, Bobby knows way more about football than I do. But he tried to run it back-to-back times. And the first time it was either a sack or almost picked. And then the second time it actually was picked. I probably wouldn't have done that. So Bogdanovich, what I would say is I would limit the longer developing vertical stuff. And it's not so much that that I don't trust the Arkansas offensive line. Once again, I think this unit isn't as bad as people have put him out to be. It's that I don't trust a combination of the Arkansas offensive line and the quarterback, right? I think Arkansas has got plenty of players that can go back there and make deep plays. But you take a look at a lot of the explosive touchdown pass plays that Arkansas has had. Let's break down the last two, okay? The one to Isaiah Satania to win the Auburn game was on a three-man rush, which is something you should never do with a quarterback like TAYLEN Green. I would never three-man rush him. If I were to three-man rush him, I would do a three-man rush with a spy right behind the zero nose to just be a second wave of pressure. So with that three-man rush, obviously TAYLEN Green was able to extend and hit Isaiah Satania on a deep ball. And then the second deep touchdown, was obviously the Isaac TeSlaa touchdown to start the game. And that was another just basic kind of four-man rush where there was a lot of penetration. But guess what TAYLEN Green did? He stepped vertically up into the pocket, okay? If you are a quarterback, rarely is the right option to roll out to either way, okay? Especially if you're a dual threat quarterback, when you see that ends have widened out their pass rush lanes, okay? You don't want to do that. You want to step up vertically into a pocket. And TAYLEN Green just cannot do that for whatever reason, okay? So, I think that's why the vertical pass concepts can be a little hit or miss with Arkansas, because not only are you struggling to trust the protection and you're struggling with Arkansas's I think they've been better in this department, full disclosure, but picking up these exotic blitz packages. But you need a quarterback to step into a pocket. That is the design of every single offensive line pass protection, is for you to step up into a pocket unless it is a designed rollout or a defensive line completely loses its contained responsibilities. Okay. So obviously the thing that I've taken the most hate on and the thing that I've been the most correct about this year on this Arkansas team was the UAPB game. TAYLEN Green's best run on the season, got him on the Pat McAfee show, got him a ton of highlights, ton of reels, all that stuff, was that ridiculous run at the end of the first half. And I said that was a bad play. I said that was a bad play for when you actually play versus actual teams, because that was a huge red flag for me, seeing that he rolled out to the right side and a decent defensive end would have sacked him. You wouldn't have had really any timeout. Say, I think you only had one timeout. It would have been burned. You would have been outside, further away from field goal range. And that's a bad play that develops into bad habits. And guess what? The worst habit TAYLEN Green has had this year is rolling out to the right. It's been a major, major, major issue instead of just sitting in and running the play as Bobby wants it to be designed. Showed up in the UAPB game, or excuse me, in the UAB game. You had a dagger concept versus a three-high look, and Andrew Armstrong was just walking at the sticks wide the frick open. TAYLEN Green runs 20 yards backwards, throws a ball later in the middle, and Andrew Armstrong makes a ridiculous catch. So, you know, it's a major, major, major issue. And the issue is, you know, Bobby's temperament has always been a big thing. I don't know what his temperament has been on the sideline. I think it's been better than what it used to be. But if you see Bobby pissed on the sideline, he has a right to be pissed on the sideline, okay? Because you're not running the play the way it was intended to be ran, okay? Now, it would be different if Lamar Jackson was back there, all right, or Russell Wilson, prime Russell Wilson, or Matt freaking Jones, if you will, because those guys do ridiculous things when the play is not run the way it's supposed to be run, okay? But they're special, all right? TAYLEN Green has special traits, but if I were Bobby, lots of zone read stuff, see what they can do, you know, with Jaquindon up the middle. And if they stop that and you can't run the football, I would do a lot of rollouts, move this pocket around. And then one thing I would add to my playbook versus an aggressive Tennessee defense is tight end leaks. All right. Now, why do I like tight end leaks and little screens like that? Because it helps with your protection, also gets the quarterback going for some easy completions. And I still believe this to be true. The best room going into the season per PFF grades, per my own analysis, was he tight end room. And, you know, when you have a quarterback like TAYLEN Green and the intermediate passing game really isn't what he does, it really hurts your tight ends, right? I would use them. Because I think they're a good antidote to what makes the Tennessee defense really good. So hopefully that answers your question, Bogdanovich. Obviously, I am not Bobby. I am not. And what's up, God, guns, and ammo, baby? Let's go. The only three things you need in life. I go back to what you said, what we talked about last week. God, guns, and ammo. I'm a little shocked that the number 3 here, ammo, because if I say the 3 things in life I want are God, guns, and whatever, I would assume in this name that you created that the ammo would already be in the guns. So I was trying to think of the third best thing. God, guns, and lemon pepper chicken wings. Can't beat those 3. Or God, guns, and boudin balls. Can't beat those 3. Can't beat those 3. Girls, 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 I do adore. Whoever gets the name of who sang that song? Girls, 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 I do adore. Mr. Bloodline brings out a random hypothetical. All that being said, the same team with Ryan Mallett, RIP, would be 5-0. Now, RIP Ryan Mallett. Would they be 5-0? I don't know. I mean, we can do the hypothetical. What if Quinn Grovey was the quarterback? What if Matt Jones? What if Brandon Allen was the quarterback? Also say this, right? Like, let's not underestimate, like, TAYLEN's role in helping this team win games, right? I know I've been labeled as anti-TAYLEN, but he's done some good things. Like, let's not act like he's not been decent up to this point. So Kingsley, here's a hint. Me and this famous artist, we share a name. All right. We share a name. Okay. So I got an admission to make. And this goes back to what our guy, so we also got Tyler Wilson. If Tyler Wilson or Brandon Allen at QB, we'd be 5-0. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Would you be 5-0? I mean, I will say the game plans will drastically change. All right. So I'll answer this question by Chris because, I've given, the neutral viewer a bunch of analysis. All right. So I played high school football in Arkansas. I love Arkansas. I do. I think Northwest Arkansas is very underrated. My buddy Raj Suresh is doing a huge comedy festival in Arkansas. I've headlined. I don't do comedy anymore, but I've headlined shows in Arkansas. I've done the Grove Comedy Club. I mean, I love Northwest Arkansas. I really do. Once again, my closest friends live there. But I'm not a Razorback. Now, does that mean I'm bashing the Razorbacks because I'm an LSU fan or an LSU graduate? No, because I criticize LSU all the time on an LSU branded channel. So, obviously I'm more positive on LSU because they've been a better program than Arkansas. But the same could be said about Georgia. I've been very positive with Georgia. Even though my Jalen Milroe prediction has kind of gone awry here, he's been special. I thought he would just be good. I didn't think he'd be special. He's been special. He's by far the best quarterback in the SEC. It's not close at this point of the season. That could change, obviously. But, I really do mean this. I give you the best objective takes as I possibly can. All right. I am not a journalist. But I do have a journalism degree, which journalism requires you to look at things objectively. So I use some of those things that I've learned. I wish I would have picked a different major so I can actually make this thing called money. But, that's basically it. So my wife is a hog. I know a lot. I just know a lot of hogs. Now, my connection to Tennessee, I don't really have one. I will say, though, I probably have a connection to Josh Heupel. One of my strongest predictions was this guy being really special. And I have tons of receipts saying that. But, I've shown Tennessee a lot of love because Tennessee, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, this past weekend was by far my number one Oklahoma video I've ever done. I show those three teams the most love because they've shown me the most love. Okay. So there you go. Now, once again, this channel is not about me. Even though my name is on the channel, my stupid headshot is in the graphic or whatever. I want this to be an SEC channel where, you can have an honest discussion about your teams. Okay. While also mostly being positive and fair to the student athletes. I don't want this to just be bash TAYLEN Green Fest. His family members and friends have probably come across plenty of negative opinions about him. I understand that when I say that's why I try not to be hot takey. I try to bring data and film analysis and specificity to the table when it comes to evaluating anyone. And another thing I would say is out of all the positions in college football that we see drastic jumps, it's the quarterback position, right? And I want to include this story because, I had someone that was in Brandon Allen's inner circle, and the truth of the matter is there has never been an SEC quarterback who ended up being a 10-year pro in the NFL, like Brandon Allen, who was hated by his fan base more than Arkansas fans hated Brandon Allen, while at the same time, he actually loved the university he played for. All right. So that's why, I talk a lot, even before I did this channel, I talked a lot about Brandon Allen. Like, this was a guy who loved Arkansas more than life itself and would do anything. He'd die for the program. And he was just slandered, like unfreaking believably slandered. And I'm not saying you guys did it, but people went way over the line with him. And obviously, to me, the most untold story in Arkansas football lore and Arkansas fans know the story, but SEC fans don't know the story, is the dude's truck being burned down. Like, that has never happened to any other SEC player, any other college football player I know of. Dude had his truck burned down. Okay. And I know some extra stories surrounding some of the other hate that I will not ever say publicly because it really was nasty. Don't know BA. He was a backup in the NFL to my favorite, player. But, I understand how great that probably felt when this dude ended up being an absolute stud. And he got in one of the most legendary quarterback duels we've ever seen versus Dak Prescott. I was on the field for that game. That shit was crazy. Okay. And I still blame Brett Bielema for not letting him set the SEC record for touchdown passes in a game. That was the best quarterback game I've ever seen.
Oh, you between two, live, girl?
Yeah. Between two SEC quarterbacks. So I say that because if Brandon Allen was sitting here right now, he would probably not want to criticize TAYLEN Green. TAYLEN Green's wearing his same jersey number, but he would tell you, hey, these are some things that I think he should do. He shouldn't escape the pocket too soon or whatever. But if Brandon Allen was sitting right here, he would probably tell a lot of you that quarterbacks get better. You think of the quarterback position, so much of it is mental. You can't really practice some of the stuff. You can't get hit in practice. There's nothing that replicates live game scenarios. And on top of all of that, quarterback is as much mental as it is physical, right? If quarterback was all physical, then, Anthony Richardson would be by far the best quarterback. I wouldn't even be close if it was all just natural physical gifts. It takes a lot. The human brain does not quit forming until you're 25 years of age. And I truly do believe experience really matters at the quarterback position. So, is it a little concerning that TAYLEN Green is, a 2021 recruit? This is, year 4 of his development. He's still struggling to see things. Yeah, it's concerning. But you also got to remember, these are the biggest, baddest, fastest dudes he has ever seen on a football field. And like I said yesterday, TAYLEN Green had a cheat code at Boise State. He played next to Ashton Jeanty, who we now see is good. Like, not just good, he's transcendent. So he had huge advantages at Boise State, and he still wasn't that great. He still got benched. Okay. Yeah, and look, also, none of this is like me defending myself. I'm just giving you my perspective on how I go about doing it. Now, if you think I go overboard in criticizing anyone, I'm not going to block you for it. I'm not going to hate you for it. It's college football. It's entertainment, right? You do you, all right? But at the same time, whether it's positive or negative criticism, I try to remember that, these are young humans playing the game. I'll also say this. Always be skeptical of reporters who only tweet out positive things, who only say positive things, okay? Delusionally positive things. Okay. I would always be skeptical of those guys and gals out there. So, Kingsley, it looks like we're not going to get the trivia question here. Girls. You know what's funny, Kingsley? That's actually, I wasn't ever really a big fan of his. I'm serious. Do I think Sam Pittman after 5 years should have the offensive line in a better position than he does? Yes. That is very concerning, okay? But I'll give you a few different sides of it, all right? So let's break down philosophically what the offensive line position actually is, all right? It's 5 large humans who have to be on the field for every single snap. And they are going up against also large humans who are faster than them that have the luxury of subbing in and subbing out. And on top of being an offensive lineman, all snaps are out of shotgun. Okay. So a lot of what you do has evolved over the years. Also, blitz packages, loops, twists, stunts have become more complex. You also have more mental things you have to deal with as an offensive lineman. All right. RPO game. I saw Jason Kelsey passionately defend his center, replacing him on Monday Night Football, for being too far down the field on an RPO. And he said, y'all do not understand it unless you've played the position. You don't really know how hard it is to not be illegally down the field on an RPO. It's hard as shit. It's really hard. Okay. So what does that mean? Well, let's think about all the other positions in football. How many positions in football require 5 players to be on the field all the time, no rotation, no nothing? And by the way, you're probably the fattest and less endured athletes who play the game. So what does that mean? Well, if you play the most snaps, you're more open to injuries. Depth is going to be a major issue. It's hard. Also, something else that has happened to offensive line play is the portal, okay? You can't go get good offensive linemen in the portal. It's really freaking hard, right? Carmona's been really good, though. I'll give him that. Addison Nichols, for the most part, has been really good. But it's hard building depth through the portal. You really got to get the guys out of high school. Like, those are going to be your best guys. So it's going to be your Will Campbells, your Kelvin Banks, your Tate Rutledges, and so on and so on. That's how you're going to get them, right? It's hard to get portal guys. Now, Tennessee got a good one in Lance Hurd, but that was a rare example where the 2 offensive tackles that LSU had are both first-round picks, according to the NFL big boards going into next year. He wanted to go play, and Tennessee got lucky, okay? So rarely is that the case. So I defend Sam Pittman because offensive line recruiting is just hardest. It's the hardest position to recruit. It is by transfer portal data, it's the hardest to actually get. Like, we think about this as well. Arkansas's best receivers from Texas A&M Commerce. All right. And another one of their great receivers is from a D3 school. Where the hell is Tesla from? I don't even remember. You can find people that can go catch a pass. You could find those guys in portal. There's plenty of them that could come in and be a good receiver. You can find good portal DBs as well. Okay. Portal linebackers, portal defensive linemen. DTs is harder than getting good ends in the portal, I feel. But, there's other positions where you can find guys in the portal a little bit easier. So Sam, if you miss on high school recruiting, which he's done over the past couple of years on the offensive line, it really kicks your ass. It really kicks your ass, and it's hard to catch up. But with all those excuses aside, it's been ass. It's been really ass. Now, a lot of it last year was Enos, and you saw the offensive line improve when it went to Guyton. But, like, the Enos scheme really puts a lot on the offensive line to be great, right? I prefer at the collegiate level schemes like Lane Kiffin's, where it makes your offensive line's life a lot easier, right? Lane runs a lot of run concepts where it doesn't require your offensive line to block perfectly. Arkansas last year ran a lot of concepts where you needed guards that were getting put on their ass to make very difficult reach blocks on 3-techs. It's really hard to do that. Okay. So to follow up here, you said, but isn't Pittman the O-line whisperer guru? Why doesn't good offensive line recruits want to come play for him? Some of it is NIL. All right. Because well, there's not many good ones. Okay. Also, it's just easy to negatively recruit the guy on the trail. It just is, right? And that was part of the issue with bringing him back is, and I've had this, and also understand if you are new to the channel, I'm not much of the insider source guy. It's just not what I do or whatever. Do I know analysts, staffers, all that stuff? Yes. This is not hard to figure out. All right. And I'm not involved with the Arkansas message boards. They probably would never say this because it would piss a lot of people off. But when you bring back a very unpopular coach, all right. Now, I'm not saying unpopular in who Sam Pittman is as a person. I think most people like Sam. They like the story. They love the yes, sir. They love how much he loves Arkansas. But when you bring back someone that ended on such a negative downturn last year, and all the fans wanted him fired, I would say probably 4 out of every 5 Arkansas fan wanted Pittman canned after the Missouri meltdown. And I get it, okay? But bringing him back when most of the fan base wanted you out is so easy to negative recruit against. And I know of instances where negative recruiting was used against Sam. Okay. It's just how it is, right? So it's really hard to reconcile that. It's really hard to deal with that. So, I think some of that has happened, even though I think overall Sam's done a decent job coaching this team. But then, I think the bigger thing, the invisible redneck. I don't know what's the better name, God, Guns, and Ammo, or the invisible redneck. Welcome, man. So Tesla came from Hillsdale, which sounds like a show on the CW. What's up, Pigpen? Good to see you. The issue is you just run into issues with that. Now, has Arkansas landed some really good recruits? Yes, but ask yourself, who's landed them? I mean, the best Arkansas recruit in terms of rankings in a long time is the 4-star linebacker they got out of Georgia. All right, that was a good job by T-Will getting that guy. Yes, so to your point here, that's why I was a big Browse guy. All right. Once again, we can get into all the morality and stuff like that. But why I was a big Browse guy is because he made offensive line play a lot easier based on pace of play. But I keep going back to the run schemes of Arkansas have been really good this year. I'll tell you, the run blocking has been really good. All right, you ran into some issues versus A&M. They just got better players there up front. But Bobby's done a really good job not only calling the run game, but sequencing it, right? I think one thing we underrate when it comes to play calling is, look, like I can tell Bobby, hey, you should run this play or that play, and I think it works. The issue is sequencing the plays, right? That is the most underrated thing people do not get about play calling is the sequencing of it. It really, really, really matters more than you would think. Sometimes I think sequencing matters as much as the actual individual play call itself, right? Because you want to paint a picture of some things and you do the other. Okay, so this is one of my lifelong friends right here. So this is a true story. So Casey just joined. I actually shared the story a little bit earlier. So I told you I wasn't making this up. Now you can look. I've not texted anyone I did not tell anyone to back up that story. Casey, there's photo evidence of this, right? But there you go. Now, I do have a business call coming up in about 10 minutes. Okay. I'm very lucky. I say lucky, I'm very unlucky. I will not be able to watch the full Tennessee and Arkansas game this weekend because I am DJing a wedding this weekend, and it's actually in Arkansas. I don't DJ a lot of weddings during football season. I try to limit those, but it is what it is. Bills have to be paid. I think a lot of you understand that. Now, I'll tell you this. I will never take a wedding during football season again if I get $500 super chats in the chat. But yeah, you guys are going to have to keep me updated. Well, I'll tell you this, Mr. Bloodline. Arkansas fans can drink. But I don't know if I'd want to be drinking whiskey versus Tennessee. Okay. I don't know. Okay, so let's do this. Let's see Kingsley if they know this song. You're as smooth as Tennessee whiskey. All right. Who sings that song? All right. I need the 3 country artists who have released that song. All right. I'm a former country DJ. I know this. And Tennessee Whiskey is one of the 3 songs I play at almost every wedding. I don't like playing the same songs at every wedding, but there's 3 that I play at almost every wedding. Okay. All right. So you're drinking Kentucky bourbon this weekend. I was once told by a 5-star recruit when we were seniors at LSU. He said, when it comes to liquor, the white is light, and by white he means clear liquor, but the brown don't go down. Oh, look at Tyler coming in hot. He got all 3 correct. He got all 3. It's crazy. So obviously Chris Stapleton, George Jones, David Allenco. He is correct. What was the order? I think it was Co did it first, and George Jones did it. And obviously Chris Stapleton did it. The funny thing is Stapleton and George Jones were both prolific writers. Okay, obviously Stapleton himself and George Jones wrote a lot with the legendary Bobby Braddock, who is probably the best country music writer of all time. Now, that's debatable. Okay. He stopped loving her today. Oh, you don't read those lyrics if you don't want to cry. But yes, I was a country DJ for 5 years. I did a country show, I did an R&B show, and I did a sports show. 3 shows every day. No producers, by myself. But it was right. David Allenco wrote it. And it's crazy. Like Stapleton and George Jones are prolific artists. My favorite Stapleton song, Deeper Cut, Parachute. Parachute is so good. I get chills thinking about that song. But yeah, my favorite country artist, obviously Stapleton's up there. Obviously, Luke Combs. I like Luke Combs a lot. My brother Darius Rucker. Love me some Davis Rucker. Darius Rucker. But I would say those are probably my 3 favorites. I love Brothers Osborne. Love them. Cool guys too. Then you got some deeper cut guys, right? Frank Foster, Corey Davis, I like them. So yeah, let's see. If you grow up in a small town, Casey Musgraves has a lot of good small town songs. Merry-Go-Round is a beautifully written song. And it's got layers to it. Merry-Go-Round's a good song. Mary, Mary, quite contrary. Yes, okay. So I'm a sports show, my first ever sports show. I was a lead-in to freaking Rush Limbaugh, right? Like totally, completely different things. Waylon, okay. Yes, so Kingsley, your wife's a Casey. Yeah, we're big Musgraves fans here. But I will say, I'll share this for the next Tennessee show next week. I know it's a lot of Arkansas fans in here as well. There is a super duper A-list country artist out there who I knew pretty well, and I opened for her many years ago. And I actually opened for her, and she was actually opening for the actual headliner. So it was when she was ground level. I'll reveal who that is next week. But I think but I guarantee you, as much country music as I played, I do not know as much as a lot of you. That is crazy. I have a wedding client that I'm about to hop on a call with. I'm DJing her wedding in later this year, and she actually wants a 90s country wedding. So she wants mostly 90s country. So that's like the Joe Diffie, and that's probably my weakest bit of country knowledge. I don't really know a whole lot about that era. What was that? Joe, who were the 90s country? That was Joe Diffie, Shania Twain. Who else was it? Joe Diffie, Shania Twain. Obviously Garth was big and King George, but those guys were, I mean, they're every era country artists, those two in particular. But Dixie Chicks, Rascal Flats. Yeah, so all right, Reba. So Reba was definitely what? The face of 90s country, would you say? I mean, she was on television. She had her own television show. Reba was the first country artist I've ever met. All right, so this will be the last thing. I do have to skedaddle. Y'all fill me in on this. All right. Are you under the same impression as some of the Get Me Clicks national guys who thinks Tennessee DBs will struggle with down the field throws? Okay. So what is this? What is it? I'm curious. All right, and this will be the final thing. What is this? I gotta fill me in, Kingsley. I know I could trust you. Yeah, that's just malarkey. Tennessee secondary's been better than people give them credit for. And on top of that, every single national media member, they were talking about how bad Tennessee secondary is. Now, have they faced a quarterback or a set of receivers that could really burn them on that? No. And that's part of the concern if you're a Tennessee fan. Can you win a game in a shootout? Right? You haven't really needed NICO to be in a shootout. Okay. I do know this. Petrino likes shootouts. He likes that style of play. Oh, man. A man you dig here at the end. All right. Type Y for yes. Type in for no. Are you joining us next Monday at 5 p.m. Central for the next Arkansas live stream? Or if you're a Tennessee fan, type Y for yes. Type in for no if you're joining us next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Central. Let me know if you're enjoying the live shows. Here's the thing. I need you guys to keep tuning in. The only way I can make this stuff work is you guys tuning in, because I like to make money. That's what I do. So I pay for my dog vet bills. And she's bad. She bit me last week pretty bad. My little puppy. Let's see. Oh, hell, I didn't plug this in. GBO, Tate, I see you. Oh, what's on the menu tonight? It is Pow, out, SEC, boom. So, my wife makes the best chicken enchiladas. I can't eat any other white chicken enchiladas unless it's hers. Sam's Club makes the best, like, red marinara sauce chicken enchiladas, or salsa, whatever the hell they put on it. And what does she do at Sam's Club? She gets me the white chicken enchiladas, which she ruined because her white chicken enchiladas are too good, which has ruined every other white chicken enchilada ever made. So I got to eat some second-tier white chicken enchiladas, which is crazy because I love Sam's Club's, like, pre-made food. I freaking love it. I think it's as good as some restaurants I go to. So it's white chicken enchiladas. Second tier, though. Okay. Let's go.